Today we have a very special guest, Ian Hilario. He's a real estate investor agent based out of Las Vegas, and he has a pretty cool story. So I want to hear not only what he does now, but kind of get into his origin story. So Ian, can you tell everyone first off, before we get into like your origin, what exactly do you do now? Like everything you do right now today.
So right now I am primarily focused on just the real estate investing side of my entrepreneur journey. Flipping houses, wholesaling, doing novations, a lot of creative finance, and building a portfolio. I
Cool.
do I do some agent side business, but not too much.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, was this the first entrepreneurial venture? Like, how did you start in just business?
Oh, that goes way back, like probably to when I'd say like 17 or 18. It was reselling shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, so like reselling like Jordans, like Nike SBs, all those way back when in like 2017. No, not 2017, like 2009 to 10.
So that was when you were like 17, 18.
Yeah.
Now, why did you do that? You're just like just for fun. You're just trying to learn. Or...
Not necessarily. It happened kind of on accident. So I just saw really cool shoes. Like when I was in high school, I just saw all the cool Filipino people.
Yeah.
They had like their spiky gelled hair, and then
Yep.
they had their Nike SBs and Jordans on, and I'm like, man, I want to look gangster like that.
Right.
But I go on the Internet Explorer back in the day, and I'm like, man, Jordans, and I'm like, dude, these are like two, three, $400. How do I do that? So I started joining like I don't know, started joining like Facebook groups because that's when like Facebook just started, right? But there was like a sneaker group called Vegas Sneakerheads, and I was just like, oh, cool, like maybe I can figure out how the hell to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to be able to afford these pairs of shoes without actually having to buy resale. So I got good at like using bots to hit them online. I was hitting maybe like four pairs, and I was like, cool. If I buy four pairs, resell three of them, I keep my pair for free. And that's essentially what I just wanted to do is just keep my pairs for free.
Right.
Then, me being 17, I was like, man, I could just hit like as many pairs as possible that I can afford. And then like I'll post all these pairs in groups and say, hey, I'll size swap you for $20. So I keep my inventory, but I'm making $20 on the size swaps, and I'll just keep doing that until I can't size swap anymore. Then I'll just resell whatever is
Wow.
left. And then after like I believe it was at the 6 or 7 month mark,
Mm-hmm.
I was making about maybe like $2,000 to $3,000 a month just from flipping shoes. And this is me being like 17 years old.
Well, that's crazy.
And
That's
then
young.
yeah, then after 18, I was like all in on that. I scaled up and I was doing maybe about like 10 to 15,000 a month in net profit just from flipping shoes. Yeah.
No kid. So okay, so you mentioned bots. Like, what exactly were you doing to scale that age?
So really, it was just reinvesting all the profits. So I found out what bots were. There was one called like GhostBot or something like that. I can't even remember. I think it was GhostBot, but I would just resell everything that I got from the previous drop, and I would make like a. There was like burner credit cards, like
Mm-hmm.
one-time use for
Mm.
specific websites, and then you could do address jigging, and basically like one address could be used as four or five separate addresses with different names, and then like the websites wouldn't catch that because it's one per address.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started asking all my friends at school, like, hey, can I use your address? They'll give you like $10. And then from there it just went from 5 shoes per drop to 10 to 20 to 30 to 50.
Gotcha.
And then I would pay people to stand in line at the mall, like, oh, hey, stand in line and camp overnight, I'll give you $50. This is when sneaker resale was like insane,
Right.
like buy a pair of shoes for like 120, sell it for like 3 400.
Wow.
And then when bots came in, I was like, oh, cool, like I don't have to pay anybody to stand in line. I could literally do everything on my computer.
Yeah.
And as soon as they all arrive, I'll just resell everything and just reinvest it for the next drop.
Right. That's awesome. So, once you saw the success with that, what was the first thought? Was like, oh, I'm gonna go even bigger because you were already seeing good success with it. What was the thought? Like, what did you do?
So the thought was, I was like, okay, cool, this is sustainable right now, but if the market turns, like if economy goes down, then people aren't buying, and that's kind of what happened to me. Like around when Kanye went from Nike to Adidas, That's when I saw the market kind of like drop for Nikes, and then I got into another entrepreneurial journey, kind of.
What was it?
So it was a mix. It was a mix between getting into insurance, which like I'll get into that right after. But the first thing was I got into retail sales, and I really liked it. It was a commission based only job. I was working at Nordstrom. It was like I was in the luxury shoe department, so I was selling women's heels, like Saint Laurent, Christian Louboutin, Prada, Gucci, and I was just like, dang, 10% commission. So if I sell one $1,000 shoe, that's $100 commission, and I'm in a luxury department. I'm selling 2-3 shoes an hour. I'm making like $200 to $300 an hour, and I'm full time here. So that kind of broke me into the retail world. And after Nordstrom, I went to Neiman Marcus, started working there. It was more high volume, and then I eventually went into working for like Christian Louboutin, Saint Laurent, and then I ended at Saint Laurent, but those jobs were like 100,000 a year, 150 to or 100 to 150,000 a year.
Gotcha.
And I was like, man, I want a professional sales job, because if I work retail forever, I'm not my own boss. I kind of want to do whatever I want, right? So that led me to getting my insurance licenses. So I got my property, casualty, life, and health insurance licenses. I hit up my car insurance person. Her name was Shelby. I distinctly remember this. I met her because I worked in retail.
Oh, wow.
So she came in, I sold her some shoes, and she was like, hey, I'll hook you up on some insurance. So I kept her card, and then obviously purchased insurance through her. And then years later, I hit her up and say, hey, I want to get into insurance. I got my licenses. So started working for a different State Farm agent that she referred me to, that she actually trained. His name's Trent Lee. He's actually a business broker now. Crazy.
Wow.
But started working for him, and I was just like, dang, insurance is tight. Like, I sell a policy, you get 10% to 20% depending on what it was, and then every 6 months they have to renew their policy, and then you get paid the same commission.
Oh,
Or
wow.
you get paid 10% of whatever the renewal price is.
Yeah, and most people don't like try to switch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if they do, like, oh well, like, call them in 6 months.
Right.
People renew their insurance every 6 months, so
Right.
you just cold call the same exact people,
Gotcha.
and then you just market yourself. It's just
Wow.
like a big cycle. And that was me at 20 to 21.
Okay. So it seems like, honestly, the first, what was that, 4 or 5 years of like your just entrepreneurial journey, it was like sales focus. Like that was
Yeah.
the skill set you were
That's when I
building.
fell in love with sales.
And that makes a huge impact
Yeah.
with how well you do everything. Because sales is everything, whether
Yeah.
you hire people or just try to actually sell someone for something.
Yeah.
So what was after that? So you said from 17 to 21, 22, because you're 29 now.
29 now. Yeah.
Um,
So 20
Yeah.
was when I started the State Farm, like when I started working for State Farm. 21 is when I opened my own State Farm. They made me a scratch agent. They said, okay, cool. Well, we can sponsor you based on the sales that you've done in the last year, and we can fund everything for the first year and a half. We'll hire employees for you, and you just start an agency from scratch. And I did that all the way up until 25.
oh, wow. Okay.
So I was the highest sales in the West Coast for all of State Farm,
Nice.
and I was like, man, this is a lot of residuals. But the kicker to that was I hated it. Like, I didn't talk to anybody except other agent owners that were 3 times my age. I'm in my early 20s, and I was just stressed all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it was a cool residual, like 200,000 a year, doing nothing, just off servicing the policies. And then anything, like any new business was just additional income on
Right.
that.
That's funny. That was my next question. I was like, did you even like that? Because it's
I didn't.
insurance.
No, I didn't. Obviously not. I'm not
Yeah.
there. But I sold my book of business to another State Farm agent, and then I asked him for royalties of 10% for the next 10 years.
Nice.
I sold it when I was 25, 24 or 25, and I already had my real estate license. My cousin, not my cousin, but my friend Gabe, childhood friend, he was already in real estate, and he was just like, dude, get into it. So I did it, and then we were at, I think it was King Realty Group here in Vegas, and we were just like, let's get some rentals. Let's help some rental people and make $300 per
Right.
lease.
Right.
And then that's how I got started into real estate.
So helping people lease homes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
my first year was just leasing homes,
Oh,
doing
okay.
just like residential leases. But that was more of me doing like insurance and real estate.
Right.
not like kind of like full-time insurance,
Okay.
part-time real estate. 2018 in August, I remember this distinctly. That's when I went full-time.
Yeah.
I left King Realty Group. Gabe decided to go and do the whole wholesale and flipper thing with Ryan. I think that's when Ryan released his book, Flip Your Future. Then I was like, man, I'm just gonna go the agent route. Like, I cold call for a living with insurance, the same people every 6 months, and make like a measly 10% off a $600 policy. Like, if I'm cold calling like expireds in real estate, and one deal is like average $9,000 at that time, then it only makes sense just to do that
Right.
for me at that moment, right?
Right.
So I left King Realty Group. I applied to join the brokerage of Huntington and Ellis with Craig Tan.
Okay.
I joined a small team there. I'm not gonna mention who it is, but my first 6 months, I was just cold calling expireds, and I got an insane amount of listings just from doing that.
Right.
No experience, nothing.
Right. Because you had this. Well, you had the sales background for
Yeah,
just
I had
past-
the conditioning
yeah
of cold calling,
of
I guess.
understanding what it took.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Now, how did you like that compared to like your insurance stuff? And
It was so much better just because, like, besides the cold calling, setting the appointments, it was actually going out of the office.
oh, yeah.
Like, insurance, I stayed in the same freaking seat, like, 8 to 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
just talking to, like, people 3 times my age, and it sucked. I
Right.
hated it. All they wanted to talk about was, like some new medication, some fiber, or, I don't know, just some bull crap that I did not want to talk about
Right.
as an early 20-year-old.
Okay, no, I can imagine. And then
Yeah.
when was the switch to okay, like this agent thing's cool. What about the investing? Like when did that start?
I'll tell you about that. So, at Huntington and Ellis, they have a huge brand recognition that they want to uphold. So they only focus on like just being a very good agent, a powerhouse. Like, you get kicked out if you at that time, I don't know how it is now, you get kicked out if you don't do 25 deals at the average price point within the first 12 months.
Gotcha.
And like me as a new agent, like I hit half that in the first 6 months, but I did a wholesale deal with Gabe. So I had a buyer who was like, "Oh, I need to sell, and then buy. We don't want to deal with listing. Can you just give us a cash offer?" And I heard about like wholesaling and flipping from Gabe at the time. So I was like, "Dude, can we do anything with this?" So I just passed him all the info. I told him what they wanted, and he was like, "This is a deal." And then what he really did was he daisy chained me and brought it to Ryan. And I was like, man. But we essentially JV'd on it.
Yeah.
We made like, I think it was like 5,000 each or something.
there we go.
So I was like, man, this is cool. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. And
Right.
that closed in like a week.
Yeah.
Then I sold that client a home. And then Craig found out that I wholesaled the deal. He's like, you can't do that. Like, we don't do that at this brokerage. And like, it came to the conclusion of me leaving.
Yeah.
And then I joined on the fly. I called Ryan and I was like, hey, let me join Forever Home.
Right. Because we can do this.
Yeah, because like you guys don't care what I do.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to monetize my cold calling. I was good at it. So I was calling expireds for listings. Why not call expireds, go for a cash offer, and then pivot to listing if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Like, only made sense, right? Because
Yeah.
if I can't get the cash offer and make a lot of money, I can at least get the listing.
Right. Dude, that's funny. I went through the same thing with my I'm not gonna say the names, but one of my brokerages.
Yeah.
When I first started wholesaling, same exact thing, man. I post it to the agents, hey, like I'm selling this deal. And then we get buyers, and then like my broker catches wind, and he's like, "Hey, what do you do? What is this?" He's like, "Oh, this is wholesaling." Like he didn't want a listing. And he was like, "I can't do that." I'm like, "Why?" You know?
I know, right? And, then the
yeah.
whole ethics behind it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But well, honestly, the big part I think is the brokers. They want to make their money, and they make
Yeah.
nothing if you wholesale it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a pretty big part. But I think that's funny that you went through the same thing.
Yeah. And then after that, I joined Forever Home. I was like, Ryan, like, how do I do this? And he just was like, I'll give you the biggest stack list I have. I specifically remember him saying that with such enthusiasm. And I'm
Yeah.
like all excited. And then I realized getting the biggest stack list isn't good. I wanted a niche list. I wanted something like with a small amount of people.
Right.
At that time, I didn't know. I just cold called it, generated some leads, set appointments, and then I would just pass them over to his team and they'd do the rest. And then that's how that started.
Yeah, and it works. Like, and everything works if you just actually do the work and
Yeah.
put the volume in.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So I guess what are you looking now in the future? Like, what's your goal this upcoming year? What's your priority?
So my priority is just to like scale the company I have right now. So shout out Home Hub. My partner is Gabe Galera over here in
Nice.
Las Vegas. We just want to do flips. My main we want to do flips and priority innovation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm curious about, like, so now we've kind of heard a little bit about your story from literally like 17 to now
Yeah.
today. And it all seems like a lot of stuff went really well, which they did. But I'm sure there's a lot of times where like, man, maybe they're like, ah, this is tougher than I thought. Like, what were
Okay.
those times?
In a nutshell, it sounds really good and
Yeah.
smooth, right? But no, there was a lot of stress, there was a lot of
Yeah.
tears, there was a lot of should I give up?
Yeah.
But like no one talks about the ugly part of it because I make it sound like I loved cold calling.
Yeah.
I didn't. I loved what cold calling did for me.
Right.
I looked at it the same way I looked at brushing my teeth, right?
Yeah.
It's a routine. You got to do it, and if you don't brush your teeth, it's going to hurt you in the near future, right?
Yeah.
I looked at cold calling the same way. If I don't fill my pipeline, then I don't make money.
Yeah, because I didn't want to glaze over it. Like you mentioned some things. You're like, oh yeah, I sat at my desk 8+ hours a day, like just calling. I was like, you glazed over that when that's like that's a lot of
Yeah.
just effort and time and grind. So,
Yeah, it was stressing and like going into that, I didn't realize like the whole mindset of being an entrepreneur was
Yeah.
super tolling. And like I had a girlfriend at that time and like she was always like, "Man, you never have time. Like you're always thinking about this whenever we talk about your business crap. I want to talk about going on vacation." And my mindset at that time was I want to make money.
Right.
Like money, 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 money.
Right.
While I'm still also flipping shoes like and flipping like all these other kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So
But
like,
it was stressing.
I can imagine, dude. What was the hardest? If you could identify the one point in time that was like this was definitely the hardest moment throughout the whole thing, whether it was with insurance, whether it was with your shoe flipping, like was there one point in time where like yeah this was a tough time? I remember going through this.
Right before, like literally the month before I sold my insurance book of business,
Why was it hard?
it was hard because I was at the point where my relationship was failing because of work. And I was like, man, there's a problem here. Like like I put too much weight on my business life to where my personal life was getting no attention. And I mean, like, I wouldn't change a thing because I'm who I am today because of that. But if I would have known, I would have taken a different route for that. It was stressing. I had no time. I wasn't taking time to decompress or de stress. I wasn't taking the fruits of my labor and enjoying it. Like, I wasn't going on vacation. I wasn't going out. I wasn't hanging out with friends. I had no friends at that point because
Right.
I was literally just focused on work
Right.
with these people that were 3 times my age, which I really didn't want to hang out with
Yeah.
them or talk to them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's once I feel that same thing, dude. Like I understand where you're coming from. It's when the work life it just takes over.
Yeah.
That's your entire focus.
Yeah.
Um, no, I get that. That's a tough time, especially when it leads to your like hurts the relationship a lot
Yeah.
more.
That was an
Um,
eye opener for me.
yeah, no, I bet. So I guess where like so if someone wanted to help you do anything that you do now, where do you think they'd be able to find you, connect with you? There's your chance to pitch, whatever. You
So
want to pitch, but-
I'm at the Boakley Group right now as an
Nice.
agent. You can find me on Instagram. The handle is Ian Hilario Group. You can also find my company's Instagram, Home Hub LV. Uh, my phone number, I'll tell Justin to post it in wherever he's
Are
gonna
you
post
sure?
it.
The phone number.
Okay, no, cut that. No, you can find me on Instagram at Ian Hilario Group.
God, I was gonna say I get blown up a lot, and I was like, I'm not getting.
No,
my
yeah, I had to
number.
think about that because Pace he posted his phone number on the Real Estate Disruptors podcast, and he gets blown up all the time.
Yeah, I feel like every time someone posts a phone number in something publicly, they just regret it. They're like, crap. I
No,
should've
yeah.
done-"
Unless you're a client, unless you're a buyer or a seller, I'll help you. You can call me.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's funny. So I guess I'm kind of curious. Are you using AI in anything you do right now?
Nope.
Really?
But we were talking about it this morning and how we can apply it into our marketing, creating like our text message templates. We want to use it for like our listing templates, like the public remarks.
Oh, yeah.
As well as like if I were to do like a networking event and if I were to speak and talk about like creative finance or novations or even just like how to help a wholesaler get their first deal. Like I could use the Chat GPT or whatever AI to help me figure out what to say. So that takes away like time from me working on like the business.
Yeah. No, it's actually kind of nutty what it can do. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's at first when I first heard of artificial intelligence, I thought it would fix all the super technical things and like all that. But it's a lot of the creative stuff. Well, I guess it's technical is like I'm using it for like copy.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of like rewording stuff and descriptions and coming up with things that like I don't want to think about this. Let me just
Yeah.
have a thing and then revise it. Like that
Yeah,
would-
yeah.
It's been so much easier. So I use it a lot for content. I definitely haven't used it for a lot of real estate yet. That's what I was curious about if you used it.
I think the other day I was just messing around and I literally was like, ChatGPT, can you rephrase this in the style of Donald Trump? And it was ridiculous. You got to try it.
Wait, what happened? What?
It was like it literally just said it typed up something like just like Donald Trump. And then I think I did Biden, and I prominently remember Biden, and it was like, here's the deal. And it used that a lot. And it would make a sentence going somewhere, and then it would just end the sentence and start something else. And I was like, this is kind of funny. Like, I could probably make a speech at one of the networking events and just sound like President Biden or Donald Trump.
Or do something and then like at the end of it be like this entire presentation was generated by AI. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like that'd be hilarious.
I should totally do that. Let's do a networking event.
Yeah, that's funny. No, actually you've held one before, right? Like I saw you.
Yeah, I held one with the Boakleys.
How'd that go? Like what was it like?
So it was pretty cool. I talked about creative finance. It was I told a story about how I did my first sub 2 deal on accident and made 200,000 and lived in a house for free for a year and a half. But you guys can see that on the video whenever they post it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it'll come out.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, man. Like is that something you're planning to consistently do, like more meetups and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was always opposed to doing the meetups just because I was like, man, I could just go do marketing and then make my calls. But I didn't from an agent mindset, that's kind of how it was. Like networking events for agents, they don't really go anywhere, and I don't want to talk to people like that. Like usually those kind of events are like people that have been in the game for like 20 years, they don't know how to use tech.
Yeah.
And all they do is gloat about how they've been like an agent for so long and how they've done so many deals and back in their day and whatever. Like, but for real estate investing, it is a game changer. Like when I go to Ryan Pineda's masterminds, I always meet somebody who has helped me or been like the procuring reason as to why I've gotten a deal.
Yeah.
Like especially with like creative finance or novations, like I could do those anywhere in the United States. I don't have to know anything about like that market or know any agents. Like I'll just JV with somebody. I'll pitch creative finance to their seller or novation, and literally they could just lock it up from there.
Yeah. No, I get you. And I think a big reason for that, like why agents, the networking events kind of, like there's kind of pointless in my opinion too.
Yeah.
Is because it's the kind of mindset they have. It's not an abundance mindset. It's like everyone's trying to keep everything for themselves. Whereas like I go to these the real estate investor meetups, and everyone's very giving, like super giving. You're like, hey, like I'm struggling with this, even if you're in the same market. And they're like, oh no, like try this, like do this here. Like everyone's super helpful. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I've noticed there's so much collaboration, and like the best deals that I found were through collaboration. Mm-hmm. Like they feel like you don't do anything either. You don't got to spend any marketing budget. You don't got to like set up systems, unless you're doing networking events in volume.
Yeah.
But like if you're just meeting people and you're like, oh, dude, I do creative or whatever, they're gonna be like, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like 8 times out of 10, people are like, oh, I need your number. I need help with the seller. They have somebody in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of curious. Are you planning to do any more like personal branding or content? Because I saw you post some. Is that something a part of the game plan for the upcoming years?
It is and isn't, just because like I'm very uncomfortable with it, and I try to get into the habit of it, but then I get so sucked into so I'm an integrator. I get so sucked into the systems that I have to do on the day-to-day routine. Mm-hmm. But I truly do want to step up the personal branding and content game up. That's also another benefit of being with Gabe as a partner. Yeah. Just because like he has like his studio, and then like I can ask him like, yo, like how do we do this? How can we attract wholesalers, or how can we like market something that we need to sell?
Because I was gonna say like if you're already a really good executor, and I was like feel like focusing on the personal brand, I
Yeah.
feel like that would like 100x everything.
Yeah, I would probably do something like really just raw and filtered and savage
Yeah.
relating to real estate.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just curious of you that because like the podcast is actually newer to me,
Yeah.
and it's been really cool, man. It's not just the fact that I mainly started it so I can have like clips of like for my short form content.
Yeah.
At all times. That
It
was
sounds like you're enjoying it.
and it's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
But the unexpected benefit was having really cool guests come and just after like post podcast, hearing their stories and then like learning from each other and
Yeah.
like bouncing ideas, kind of like the mastermind events.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like I've gotten some great ideas and I've started executing some from some of these guests, and it's like been very helpful. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's cool too. It increases your network because, like, if you have no network and you start a podcast and you start interviewing people who are in the game,
Yeah.
like, you get all of the attention of their followers.
100%.
And then there's just, like, huge awareness. You become an authority from nothing.
Yeah, because you're just curious. You're asking questions, and like, it's been really cool. So I don't know if I could encourage something that I don't know. It's my thought.
Yeah,
is
no, yeah,
content.
that, like, I definitely need to step up the content and branding.
Because you've had good content so far. I've
Yeah,
looked at it
especially all the Home Hub stuff.
for sure. So okay, dude, if you had one message you wanted to share, it doesn't have to be business, doesn't have to be real estate, whatever. Just share to everyone. What's your message?
I would say take action. That's just the most important part. Like having the hesitation, trying to be a perfectionist, getting a paralysis analysis, the 3 Ps of failure. Don't do any of that. Just take action and do it. Because what's worse than like not taking a shot, right? You miss an opportunity. If you take action and you fail, at least you tried.
Yeah. No, I like that message, man. Well, dude, thank you for being on. It means a lot that you even came, took time out of your day. And I'll make sure to have your social media links, probably not your phone number, in the show notes below. But otherwise, peace.
See ya.